youtube.com/MayhewMayhem. That's youtube.com/MayhewMayhem.
Hello and welcome to another episode of 30 Minutes of Mayhem. I am your host, my name is Michael Mayhew, and I am here with my co-hosts.
Hey everybody, I'm James, and the guy who likes to fuck dead bodies.
Sup everybody, it's me, Greg.
30 Minutes of Mayhem is available on YouTube, iTunes, Android, Stitcher, and Spreaker. All you have to do is search MayhewMayhem. That's MayhewMayhem, and make sure to rate us 5 stars.
Also, you can help us afford to continue doing the show by donating to 30 Minutes of Mayhem via PayPal. Just use the email address in the description, 30minutesofmayhem@gmail.com.
Like I said, welcome to 30 Minutes of Mayhem, the podcast your mother can be ashamed of. And tell me, Greg, why is this the podcast your mother can be ashamed of?
Because we have a registered pedophile joining us tonight.
He's not exactly registered, but that is correct. Lock your doors, lock your wives. I don't even fucking know because he's raping everybody out there. I fucked up that joke. So, as Greg happened to spoil the surprise, to my dismay, we have a very not so special at all guest.
Hi, I'm Nick from youtube.com/thetictacman.
And how are you doing, Nick?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. Got this ankle bracelet. It's nice. I can't leave the house.
We also have another guest, which he has got to be fucking stupid to be on here yet again. 50 episodes ago, we had this particular person. That person is Adam.
Hi everybody, how's it going?
Are you regretting your decision already to be on the podcast again?
I regret everything.
I figured as much. Now, it has been 50 episodes since you have been on. Do you feel like that's too much time or not enough time?
I think it's just the right amount of time.
That soup is the perfect amount of warmness. So, before we actually get started in what we're going to talk about tonight, I want to kind of not so much ask you guys a question and not so much tell a story. It's kind of like a rhetorical thing, right? Have you ever been down there just eating pussy, right? You're just down there getting at it and you're just because you have no idea what the fuck you're doing down there. I mean, no one ever helped you out. No one ever told you like, yeah, that works or that doesn't work. So you really don't know what you're doing. So you're just like, it's like you're trying to, I don't know, eat pasta without chewing. I don't know how to put it, but you're just down there going at it, right? And you don't know if it's working for her. But then, while you're down there going at it, you just catch a little glimpse of that dirt star. You catch a little glimpse of that butthole. And you think for like just this split second in your mind, like, I wonder if I just toss that salad, what'll happen? Like, how will she react to it? And you debate it while you're just down there, because you have no idea what you're doing. And you're just sitting there thinking like, maybe I just toss her salad. And then you snap back to reality and you're like, nope, poo-poo comes out of there.
I was about to say she duked you on your tongue.
I'm not going to toss a salad, but I have absolutely no problems with putting my penis in there. No one? I thought Nick might enjoy that one.
I'm sitting here and I'm just like, there are times where I've been like, I would totally go ass to mouth in the moment of passion. And then as soon as logic kicks in, I'm like, oh no, that's terrible. Why would I?
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the reason why this is the podcast your mother can be ashamed of. And at this point, Adam, you are in full regret of being involved with the show more than what you were before. So let's just go ahead and get right into this first topic. And that topic is schizophrenia. Some of you may know, Adam, you got a bachelor's degree in psychology, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Educate us a little bit about schizophrenia.
Okay, for starters, let's go ahead and start with a disclaimer. Under no circumstances is what I'm about to say to be used as a diagnostic source. It's purely educational. If you do have schizophrenia or believe that you do have schizophrenia, please contact a professional. If you do, get help. The definition for schizophrenia is a chronic psychotic disorder characterized by disturbed behavior, thinking, emotion, and perceptions. Well, schizophrenia only impacts about 1% of the population. Like we think, oh, that person's probably schizophrenic, or oh, that guy is hallucinating, he's schizophrenic. Really, only 1 out of every 100 people is schizophrenic. It's very low ratings. Okay, well, there's no real cause of schizophrenia. We still don't really understand the causes of schizophrenia. But we do have, some evidence to support some theories. One of them is called the diathesis stress model. Essentially, what it's saying is if there's a genetic predisposition, like say your great-great-great-grandfather, was sent to an asylum for schizophrenia, his genes passed on to you, so you possibly have the gene for schizophrenia. Now, this gene needs to be activated, so that comes with the environmental stresses. Diathesis is a genetic predisposition and the stress. So you have the gene, it's activated by the environmental stress, and that's what brings rise to schizophrenia. Usually it happens around young adulthood. Your life's getting the most stressful. You're going to think about colleges, high school, stressful, things like that. Okay, and there's also something called the dopamine hypothesis. This dopamine hypothesis states that there's too much dopamine, so it screws with the brain development, the brain functioning. That's how you get schizophrenia. Well, then you also got viral infections during pregnancy. Women get infected with the virus. It messes with the prenatal development of the fetus's brain. It causes brain abnormalities, which is the fourth theory, that when someone's brain is developing, or say some trauma, the brain becomes abnormal, or it becomes damaged and it doesn't function correctly, and it produces either schizophrenia or schizophrenic-like symptoms. Yeah, that's the main causes I wanted to talk about. There's some about environment, family, nurturing kind of stuff, but there's not really much evidence for it, and there's not really a whole lot of credibility with those theories. I'm going to talk about symptoms now. There's many different types of symptoms. I chose three that were the most prevalent things that people think of the most when they think of schizophrenia. One of them is called delusions. We have there's many different types of delusions as well. There's something called delusion of persecution. The government's trying to turn me into a cat. CIA's out to get me. Just paranoia. There's delusions of grandeur. Nick is familiar with this one. You got an inflated sense of importance to the world, or you believe yourself to be a messiah figure.
I just like to point out that those people in my cult would have nothing to do with their lives without me. They'd be out there starving to death on the streets. I gave them a home. I gave them a God to believe in, a God they can trust.
Okay, well, there's also something called thought insertion, where the person believes that they're thinking someone else's thoughts. Say you're just sitting at home watching TV, all of a sudden Nick's thoughts pop into your head. That's terrifying. People say telepathy, where you can read someone else's mind, only you can't control it, and their thoughts are being broadcast into your head. But the thing is, you're not actually thinking their thoughts. It's completely, it's in your head. It's what you would think they would think, essentially. And there's something called thought broadcasting, which is the belief that other people can hear your thoughts. The common example is, it's probably bad to say it, but the people, with the tinfoil hats and stuff, because the government can't read your mind. That's pretty much a good example of thought broadcasting. Hallucinations too, there's different types of hallucinations too. You think, people just hear voices and see things. No, it's more than that. But auditory hallucinations occur 75% of people of the time with schizophrenia. 75% of people with schizophrenia have auditory hallucinations of some degree. There's also visual hallucinations, tactile hallucinations, sense of touch, you're feeling something weird that's not there. Gustatory hallucinations, you're tasting something that you're not eating or drinking. And olfactory, you're smelling things that aren't there. Okay, well, there's no cure for schizophrenia. There's no cure for it. People just have to be treated. There's two fronts to the treatment of schizophrenia. One is the biological. It's antipsychotic medication, things like Haldol, clozapine, risperidone, thorazine, basically all these, tranquilizers or, psychoactive medications to help people get their brains under control. But the problem with taking psychiatric medication, antipsychotic medication, is that you have risk something called tardive dyskinesia, involuntary movements caused by long-term use of antipsychotic medication. And there's another thing called the rule of fourths, which plays into the socio-environmental impact of treatment. Like, you can't just give someone a drug and expect them, shut them out the door. But many people, they end up in either group homes of other people with schizophrenia or other people with mental illnesses. It's like a residency place. They can go, they can live, they can learn, so they can function well in society. And there's something called the rule of fourths, which I thought was interesting. 1/4 of all patients who are diagnosed with schizophrenia are able to live with it. It's a mild case. They can function with it. They just, have the schizophrenic-like symptoms, but they're able to function normally in society. The next fourth of patients can function with help from medication. These are people with schizophrenia who have it a moderate case. They need the medication in order to be, functional. The other fourth of patients require medication, and they have to live in a group home as well. They're functional, but they still need to be watched, still need to be, monitored. And the other fourth require institutionalization. They can't live out in the world. They can't function well. Even with medication, it's still hard. That's a severe case, profound case of schizophrenia.
Now you were talking about auditorial hallucinations. To kind of expand on that, if someone's like talking, like holds like I mean full blown conversations with themselves, like just talking out loud to themselves, full blown conversations that you and I would be having right now, but just with themselves. Is that something that falls under like your auditorial hallucinations? Like, I don't know if like maybe they hear somebody and they're talking to them, but they're really talking to themselves. Does that like fall in the same category or?
Unless it's like an auditory hallucination where, it's a completely different person talking to them. Like say like a monster under the bed, or, like you're 50 years old and you're still talking to a monster under the bed. If it's yourself, really, that's not really a hallucination. It's more like you're having a conversation with your inner monologue, essentially. That might be a symptom of the symptom. Might be a side effect of the symptom of the hallucination. But really, without knowing what the cause of the conversation of speaking, you can't really say if that was schizophrenia or not. Basically, you got to look at the cause of the behavior. If it's a hallucination, or like something's telling the person to do something, or is arguing with the person, then it can be considered a hallucination. You're looking at the side effect of a possible symptom, and not a symptom itself. That might be a red flag that something might be wrong, but it's not necessarily a symptom.
Yeah, so basically could be, not so sure, because more research would need to be done.
Yeah, diagnosis would have to be performed.
You one time hit Nick's mailbox backing out of his driveway.
Twice.
Okay, whatever.
Only once.
Okay, so say...
And I never do it.
Okay, so you hit Nick's mailbox when backing out of his driveway once, okay? And you know that it was your fault. But, like, let's say you blamed it on the mailbox. Like, it was the mailbox's fault. Had the mailbox not have been there, you wouldn't have hit it. And it's not that you're just kind of like, where, say you trip on a chair and you're like, oh, damn, chair jumped out and grabbed onto me. You're not being that. You're being dead ass serious. Like, it's the fucking mailbox's fault for fucking being there. Because if it wasn't there, I wouldn't have hit it.
Yes, it is possible, because it's a distorted view of reality. Thinking that the mailbox, has a personality and had the means to, get out of the way, but it just didn't. That's a possible red flag for schizophrenia. But it also could be, many other things too. The schizophrenic symptoms are also, some schizophrenic symptoms are also shared by other mental illnesses. But yeah, I would say it's possible.
Everybody else is like, hang on, wait, we're covering something serious on this podcast. I'm confused about what I'm supposed to do. Am I just supposed to sit here and be quiet?
There's a major stigma with schizophrenia and mental illness in general. But really, all that schizophrenia is a misfiring of the brain for whatever reason. Violent schizophrenics are very rare. It's very, very rare.
And we're talking about psychologists, psychiatry, whatever. And I mean, they're doctors. I mean, right? Technically, if you're practicing in the field, you're a doctor, right? Am I wrong? Fuck it, I don't care if I'm right or wrong. Let's start to actually cuss and say bad things now, because we tried to be so nice to begin with. But before we move on, like Adam said at the beginning, if you do fear anything about you might possibly have schizophrenia or anything like that, actually consult a medical professional, because we are not by any means medical professionals. So consult them, not us.
Although Adam is going to be on my payroll, and if ever I seek another mate, he will vet them for me.
Okay, so now on that note, let's talk about doctors, about medical professionals. Do you think that doctors make entirely too much money for the little bit of work that they actually do? I'm not so much talking about surgeons, because that's a whole different conversation. I'm talking you go to the ER, and because you nearly cut your finger off, right? So you go to the ER, and you're looking down in your hand, and you can see your tendons and shit moving around. You need a surgeon at this point to fix your fucking hand. But the doctor at the ER makes entirely too much money. What do you think? Do doctors make too much money or what?
I don't really know how to respond to this, because
Good answer, Nick.
for one thing, I'm
Wow.
kind of against socialized medicine and all that, and I'm not sure how it's gonna come out, depending on what I say. I don't know. I guess. I mean, I don't think that, we should lower their pay or anything. I mean, because what the fuck do I know? I'm not a doctor, but, I mean, I do think some of them do kind of make a little too much money for a little amount of work they do.
In a lot of cases, I really do feel that they make too much money. And one of the stems from that is pharmaceutical companies give them kickbacks for writing prescriptions and stuff like that. And I feel when you're making that much money, as they already are, you should be the standard for moral integrity. Pharmaceutical companies giving you kickbacks like that, giving you money for writing prescriptions for their drugs, that causes so many problems. So many. Adam over here can attest to that, especially in the field of psychology.
Oh yeah, don't get me started on psychiatrists and prescribing medication. Don't get me started on that. I agree with Nick about the pharmaceutical side of it, the kickbacks and stuff. Yes, I believe that should be regulated, that should be controlled. Doctors should not get kickbacks because of prescribing medications. The thing is, though, too, like Greg said, what for little work that they do. Well, what is it the doctors do?
That's the thing. That's the thing that gets me. Like you go to the ER and you deal with nurses and shit. I've said this before on previous episodes, and I'll say it again here. Is that the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to the medical field is the ones that do all the fucking work. The CNAs or STNAs, wherever you live, whatever they call them, the nurses' aides, are the ones that do like the majority of the fucking shit. They deal with all the bullshit. They're the ones that they go through so much shit just to get shit on. And then the higher you work up the totem pole, the less and less work that the people actually do, but the higher the fucking pay grade is.
That's pretty much how it is for any profession, actually.
The thing is that...
Right, but with let me get to my point here. With the doctors, especially if you talk about an ER doctor, they do all the shit, like say you need an X-ray or whatever on your ankle. The doctor looks at the X-ray and they're like, all right, your ankle's broken or your ankle's not broken. That's it. And then the nurses or whoever else is in there does all the rest of the work. But yet the doctor's making more money than what they are. I mean, granted, the doctor goes to school for longer, and by all means, I do believe that, for example, I have an associate's degree, Adam has a bachelor's degree. Let's just say I had an associate's in psychology or he had a bachelor's in graphic design, whichever way you want to take it. Because he has a higher level of education than me, if we're going for a job and let's say that whatever the amount you're getting paid is, say I get paid $15 an hour with my associate's degree, Adam should be getting paid like at least $20 an hour because he has a bachelor's degree. Somebody with a master's should be paid, $25 an hour. Somebody with a doctorate, whatever, $30 an hour. Yes, there should be a higher pay for the extended amount of time that they've went to school, but like I feel like it's just not quite justifiable when you talk about like ER doctors when they just do not do that much to get paid all kinds of money.
The returns for what they put into it are significantly more. Like you can even compare them to something like a prescribing nurse, which is close to the same amount of time. Not like there, but
a nurse practitioner is what you're trying to get at.
Significantly more than what other people put in, and yet that doctor makes just stacks above.
Well, look at it this way too. Get back to start with the education. Doctors go through 4 years of regular college, pre-med. Then he also has, which is as many people like me, I got student loans to pay. That is a heck of a lot of money in order to put towards that. And then not only do they have to pay for those 4 years, they got to go 4 more years to go to med school. That's 4 more years of very expensive education. So not only did they pay for the student loan debt, there's that, which puts a lot of doctors at least at first when they're going through their first part of their career, that puts them in debt.
Well,
the second part is
the first few months, and then they got that all paid back, and then they're just rolling in the fucking bank.
There's not all the doctors come out. When they come out, they're making buku bucks.
Right.
There's interns, and then there's residences, and then when you get to be attending or higher, that's when you actually make the big money. Is anybody who watched Scrubs,
Yeah, that's where I went when you were talking about it. But anyways, go on.
Okay. Then you got the what they do. Well, yeah, the nurses say, my mom was a registered nurse. I heard all the time about how, doctors, are full of crap and how, some doctor did something stupid or said something stupid. Well, look at it this way. Yeah, the people at the very bottom do the most work and get the most crap. The higher you go, the more responsibility you have. The more
specialized.
Wrong, the bigger the repercussions. Like, say, a doctor, like he looked at your X-ray, or he or she looked at your X-ray. What they said, like if it's broken or not. If it's broken and they say it's not, then it's shit. They get sued. They get they go
well,
to ER. The person
not in this area. They don't get sued. That's just the standard here. They don't know what the fuck's going on. Greg could walk in there right now and do the same fucking thing that they're doing.
The thing is though too, reading an X-ray. Like how many people can actually look at an X-ray and say, oh, that's a tumor, or oh, that's a
people that are radiologists or whatever that are trained to fucking do that.
But then, okay, you say radiologist, but then the doctor has to decide what to do next, what medication to give, whether to get a consult, whether to take to a surgeon, whether to, you know what I'm saying? There's at least thousands and upon thousands of different medication, different symptoms they have to memorize and have to learn, have to be able to prescribe in an instant. Like ER doctors, yeah, you walk in with a broken ankle, they look at an X-ray. What about the person next time? The next person comes in with a gunshot wound. There's split-second decisions that have to be made, and they have to be the ones to make those decisions. Like nurses, yeah, they could after a lot of experience. Really, like a nurse person coming out probably wouldn't really know what to do, whereas a doctor has at least some education to be able to figure out how to do it.
And there is also the field or specializations, because nurses are trained to do a shit ton of things, but don't really exactly focus in one area. Doctors,
some do.
To be honest, yes, they do.
Yeah, it depends. Like you have the nurses. You have.
I know you have like a psychiatric ward, and then you have stuff like ICU and stuff like that.
Like med sec or whatever. There's different, but yeah, they have different branches that they. But then
surgical nurses, there's medical nurses, there's psychiatric nurses. My mom tried to get me into that.
But yeah, I mean, you got all that different stuff, but you also do have kind of like the general nurses, if you will, that are kind of like the general doctors, again, like the ER nurses and stuff like this. But we haven't heard from James, so let him get in here.
Yeah.
I particularly don't really like hospitals. I just feel like all they want is money, basically, and I don't know, I guess I'm just paranoid about them. Like, I feel like if something's wrong with me, they're not going to give a shit. If, like, say I don't have insurance or something, they're not going to care. They're just going to be like, oh, fuck this guy. I just feel like it's all about money with them, and I feel like I won't be able to, you know what I mean? It won't ever be a reason why there's something wrong with me. Like, if there is something wrong with me, like, always be this or that, or they'll be just throwing shit out there. Like, I don't know.
It's when you have insurance, they can just rape your insurance company with all kinds of shit. And they do that. I mean, not everywhere.
Oh yeah, I've seen it.
Look at it this way too, James. Like, yeah, hospitals do charge a lot. Thing is that they also have to pay a lot too. They have to pay the doctors, the nurses, the techs, the specialists, the overhead just to keep the hospital running. And for people who don't have, like, say, insurance, I know a few people I know who don't have money, constantly go to ER when they have problems. Then they got to pay that too. Like, really, it costs a lot to run a hospital. And yeah, they want to make money, but the money isn't just for, their own pockets. They're renovating the hospital, buying new equipment, getting new training for nurses and doctors and techs. Like, basically, yeah, they are charging you a lot. And some hospitals are for profit, or they say they're not, but really most of the money at least is going to a good place. That's what I'm trying to say.
Going back to the education, the amount of work they got to put in, the schooling, all that stuff. I feel like the reason they're paid so much is you know what I mean? It's like a big payoff from doing all that work. I feel like if they didn't make so much money, I feel like if doctors didn't make so much money, there wouldn't be many doctors. They would be more honest, I feel like. But I just, you know what I mean? People just want money. That's what it's about.
Well, it's like another thing too is, these doctors, they're not just, doctors, not just, people who work in a hospital. These are experts. These are people who can be said are experts, and they get paid because of that expertise. Like specialists and stuff, like, say, a dermatologist. They're getting paid because they know almost everything about skin diseases, about, everything to deal with skin. So that's why they're getting paid so much. It's because if you need somebody, here they are.
It's also kind of like almost one of those double-edged swords, because if you don't pay them enough, then there's no incentive. Like somebody, I don't remember who said it, but incentive. There's no incentive. But if you also think about with again this to Nick's point, this is way off topic, but teachers, right? People say like teachers need to get paid way more money than what they do. But if you pay teachers too much money, people will get into teaching for the wrong reason.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
And they'll get into teaching, not give a flying fuck about students, but they're looking to bank like $80,000 a year. You know what I mean? If you get it up to that, they're like, I don't give a fuck about them kids. I'm banking $80,000 a year. So I mean, should teachers get paid a little bit more? than what they do? Yeah, but not a huge leap, because you don't want people that get into it for the wrong reasons. And if you quit paying doctors really, really super over the top high amounts, then people are going to quit getting into it, because it's not worth the amount of time and stuff that they put into it to get paid like 50 grand or whatever a year. It's not worth it. So
Another thing too is
So-
about doctors getting paid a whole lot. Let's say you're a doctor and you need to tell somebody they're dying. The next person you got to see has a broken leg, and they're bitching and whining about that.
It's a lot of emotional stress.
Yeah, a lot of emotional stress. You're after how many people do you have to tell that they're dying to that you just become burned out? And like having a lot of, if you got paid very little, you would just quit or
Yeah. Greg, do you agree or disagree or?
yeah, is anything that we have said now triggered you to think anything other than to just restate what the actual question is?
Yeah, you guys have both said stuff that I had never considered before, like the whole thing about, you go to school for all the, special training and you got all this, debt and stuff, and then also the fact that the higher up you are in the ladder as a doctor, the more responsibilities you have and the higher chance that if you fuck up, then it's gonna, basically end your career.
somebody can die.
So
Because
now
we
I
are-
kind of reversed my decision that I guess, doctors do kind of get paid the right amount then.
I still think that they get paid entirely too much money, except for, my only exception to this are surgeons. Okay, surgeons,
Yes.
however the fuck you say that word. They don't get paid enough money. I mean, unless they're just the basic level surgeons. But if you're doing open heart surgery or brain surgery or whatever it is, then you by all means should make $1 million a year. If you're successful at your fucking job and you're doing it right. Now, another surgery, we've talked about this a couple of different times on the show before, that interests me. And Nick, I'm looking for your input primarily on this. Do you feel like a surgeon should a surgeon that would perform this particular surgery get paid a lot of money? For example, your greatest desire, if you go back to episode 3, Nick's greatest desire is to what, Nick?
Birth a child?
Bear and birth a child is Nick's greatest desire, but we talk about on that episode that he would need the uterus, the eggs, the tubes, and so on and so forth. Now, if you go back to that episode, you can hear everything that we were going to say about it. But if a doctor, a surgeon, was capable of performing that surgery onto you to where you could have both orifices and reproduce with yourself and whatnot, like we talk about on the episode, that doctor, in my opinion, should be paid a shitload of money to be capable of doing that successfully. Would you agree or disagree?
I agree. I mean, he also has to think about the moral consequences of it. I mean, he's giving me the ability to reproduce at will. Yeah, he needs to get not just a lot of money from the job. He needs to get a lot of money directly from me, because that's a lot of. He needs to. I need to pay up that sin tax right there.
To keep kind of with what we were just discussing now, this is a follow-up question from episode 51. Nick, you weren't on episode 51. Adam, you were also not on episode 51, but both of you have heard the episode. We talked about in episode 51, if you were about to seal the deal with what you believed was a female, you pull them panties down, big old dong just flops out there and flopping in your face. What do you do? That's what we talked about on episode 51, so if you want to hear what we had to say, go back and listen to it there. But this is a follow-up question to it. Let's say when you're in this situation, you pull down them panties and there's actually a puss there. And if you want to know what that question is, you're going to have to tune in next week when we continue this discussion. That does it for this episode of 30 Minutes of Mayhem. I have been your host. My name is Michael Mayhew, and I have been here with my co-hosts,
James.
And Greg.
Don't forget to check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, Android, all of that stuff. We're available on YouTube, and donate to us, because we could really use the money, because we broke. Go ahead and donate on PayPal. Yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and maybe you learned a thing or two. Because I know I did. I don't know about Greg. I don't know if he paid attention the whole time. Greg, did you pay attention the whole time?
Yeah.
Lies. All right, later, fellas.